I'm about to start working on this watch, and I know you guys like to ask me how much my builds cost to assemble. This one cost me just below $200, and I'll leave it to you to tell me if it was worth it. I used to get this Seiko NH35 movement for around $30. Now it's doubled in price. All links for parts and tools used here are in the video description. I almost always swap rotors when assembling a watch, and I'm not dropping that tradition anytime soon. I picked up this purple rotor to match the color on the dial. It's not a perfect match color-wise, but it's very close and the difference is barely noticeable. All I do there is to remove the stock rotor and replace it with the custom one. After that, I give it a few spins in both directions to make sure the wheel that you can see here is working as expected. I struggle with procrastination quite a bit. I'm scared the watch won't live up to how I imagined it in my head. I just convince myself to give it my best shot and see where it goes. Right now I need to install the dial on top of the movement. I start by lining up the date window with the stem to determine which dial feet to cut. I'm pointing at those right now. In my next video, you'll see me make a fool of myself by ruining 2 dials before I get it right. Out of all the tools in my toolkit, this is the one I hate the most. It's on me though. This file is definitely not the right tool for the job. It's too big and inappropriate to file this type of material. As a result of all that filing, we have some metal debris that I don't want anywhere near my movement, especially when Seiko is running a sale of 1 for the price of 2. One of the worst things that can happen is finishing the assembly and then realizing that big piece of dust is actually under the crystal, and that you have to disassemble everything to get it out. If you did everything correctly up to this point, just line up the dial, push it down, and it should slide right in. I do a quick check and look around to see if everything is nice and snug, and it looks like there are no gaps between the dial and the movement. The watch hands come inside these very suspicious looking containers. I mean, they're well protected and all, but I don't like the shape of those things. In order to have an accurate watch, we need to set the time at midnight before installing the hands. That's what you see me doing here. We start with the hour hand, I line it up with the 12 o'clock index, and push it in using this hand pusher. I go in for a second time just to make sure it's well in place, and that's when I feel the click of the hand sitting correctly on the pinion. Don't get discouraged if the date doesn't switch exactly when the hands are in the midnight position. For the minute hand, I forgot to place the camera in a good position, so you gotta take my word for it that it went in very smoothly. I spin the hands to make sure there is sufficient clearance. Hands tend to rub against each other and leave all types of nasty scratches. Placing the second hand is a process that needs patience and precision. Since I got the 5x magnifying loupe, second hand installation became so much easier for me. With all hands installed, it's time to clean up. Using the magnifying loupe and a piece of Rotor, I start wiping off any traces of dirt and grease from the dial and hands. I don't have the tools to make this a 100% squeaky clean watch. I find it easy to get rid of traces with very soft touch-ups using Rotor. For a case that cost me almost $83, I expect it to be very high quality. Let me tell you that I really love this case. It's by far the best case in terms of design and finish I've ever experienced in person. I start by opening the case using the rubber ball. The case back gasket goes into the grease container, which helps repel water and other liquids. The rating is not specified in the case listing, but it should be more than enough for splashes and other normal water exposure. Let me give you a quick piece of advice. Don't listen to anyone telling you cleaning the case from the inside is not needed. Sure, it takes a bit of time and effort to get it all cleaned up, but it will save us so much headache. For this task, I use this air blower and a lens pen. Before putting the movement inside the case, I need to remove this temporary crown and stem. You can use any plastic or wooden tool to press this little lever which will release the crown, and you just have to pull it out of the movement. I always get nervous when doing this, not because it's a particularly difficult step, but because it's the moment I either realize I did a great job at part selection or start having doubts about continuing with the video. I go ahead and put the movement and dial inside the case, flip it over and make sure everything is well seated. I use plastic tweezers to avoid scratching that black PVD coating on the case or accidentally breaking the movement. At this point, I am very happy with the way it turned out, but my job is not done yet. After staring at it for a few minutes, now I need to size the stem so that I have a fully functioning watch. With the threaded part between the pliers, I make sure the stem is all the way inside the crown. You can use a ruler here if that's all you got, but these calipers work best. You gotta measure from the inside part of the crown to the top of the stem gate. Let's go ahead and remove the stem from the movement. I unscrew the crown and make a small mark where I need to cut the stem. To avoid making it too short, I usually cut a tiny bit before the mark. It's better to do 2 cuts than to look for a spare stem, but it doesn't hurt to have a few spare ones in your toolbox anyway. I get the crown installed again and push it inside the case. But I'm not too surprised, it's still too long as the crown does not screw all the way into the case. Not to bore you with the process again, and to preserve what remains of my viewer retention metric, here is a quick edit of it all. Now I'm confident it will go in all the way. And it does. It's looking good so far, so I'm very happy. This blue liquid is Loctite. It's basically a glue that makes steel things stick to each other. It's important to apply this glue to the stem. If you don't do that, there is a chance the crown will come off when you try to set the date. It's a long day if that happens, so don't forget the Loctite tube. More cleaning action for the case back, as this one really needs it, both from the inside and outside. I make sure not to forget the case back gasket before closing the watch, as we need that for extra water resistance. It's the small details that make sure your watch does not fall apart a few weeks after assembling it. I close the case back using the inflated rubber ball. I find it safer than the metal case back opener. I still use it to tighten up, and I do it very carefully, as it's easy to slip and scratch the case back. Now that it's looking nice and clean, I can install the strap. I chose this beautiful fitted rubber strap with a stainless steel buckle in gold. It's $27. It might seem too expensive to some, but I highly recommend this one. It's very high quality. The clasp matches the gold color on the top of the case and the crown. So now I'm done and I get to enjoy this watch. The most satisfying part of the build is when it's all done and you can take a picture of it and send it to your friends. For me, the work isn't done and I still gotta edit a video together and write a script, which I'm doing right now. I really love how this watch turned out. The deep purple and gold accents make this dial pop. Let's be honest, nothing was invented here, and it's a dial that's a copy of the Vanac King Seiko watch. But the combination of that with this black and gold case couldn't be more beautiful in my opinion. The display case back is optional, but I'm happy I made that choice. Sure, stainless steel case backs make the watch slightly thinner, but I almost always prioritize visual treats over convenience. If like me, you also chose a display case back, I highly recommend getting a custom rotor, as that makes things a lot more interesting to look at. Here is the watch on my 6¼ inch wrist. It wears nice and comfortable. This rubber strap is particularly good. The fact that it's fitted makes this watch look even more premium in my opinion. You saw me build this watch, you pretty much know how much money this build has cost. Would you consider making one for yourself? Let me know by leaving a comment. Links are in the video description for all parts and tools used here. Please leave a like and consider subscribing for more. Thank you so much for watching.